Season 52, war number 12, the final war of the season, and we're up against Nefti. This time my team will be Luke Cage, Omega Sentinel and Werewolf by night. I will be taking path 1 in section 1, path 1 in section 2, a Bishop, Enchantress, Man-Thing, Mangog, as well as a Storm Pyramid X miniboss, and finally that Onslaught boss there, using Werewolf by night. I'm getting so close to being caught up with these war videos, and after I do I can finally start working on some new stuff, so that has me pretty excited for now, but I'm not gonna make any timelines or promises on what type of content, but something will be coming other than these old war videos. Now starting off here we have a Spider Ham on the personal space regeneration node, and I will be taking the fight with Omega Sentinel. This fight is quite simple, you're just gonna be using the heal block to shut down the healing, and then it's just a normal Spider Ham you gotta deal with. Now the issue with this specific fight here for me is that I had the recoil masteries on, which then hurts quite a bit in terms of the recoil damage I will be taking. Also, I didn't exactly do too well throwing the first special one there, so I threw it into the block, got comboed, now I have power stings on me, I've taken some damage as well as the recoil, and overall the start of this fight has just been horrible. Now I could have changed my masteries for it, but since I will be using Omega Sentinel quite a bit this war, I thought it would be a waste of units, and I can just heal through the recoil damage anyways, so it shouldn't be a big issue. I didn't, however, anticipate I would screw up royally at the start, so I have taken a lot more damage than I intended, but as long as I can come out of the fight alive, it's not the biggest deal in the world. So far, this Spider Ham has been very annoying, but even then, with all the mistakes and all the recoil, I did end up soloing the fight, but it did require some more potions, or bigger potions, than I was hoping to use. This season has been very expensive in terms of potions and mastery changes already, but just gonna get worse when next season starts, I would imagine. Then we have a Havok on the Masochism Overtime node, and I will be taking the fight with Omega Sentinel. Now, the game plan is the same as last time. I first gotta do a double medium to trigger Masochism, and then land an opening with an intercept, do another double medium for the heal block debuff, and then keep it up for the rest of the fight by finishing combos with light attacks. By doing so, I will shut down most of the ability power rate as well as the miss from the defense tactic. And that's essentially all you need to deal with this fight, but it is a little bit tricky trying to manage Havok's power bar, your own heal block debuff there, as well as, well, no, I guess that's it. But anyways, it's not the easiest thing to do. Now, I am going for the special 3 here to speed things up, since this is a fairly big Havok, and the special 3 has its risks associated with it. Or with it, I should say. The issue here is, if I now get clipped at any point, I will consume my armor up buffs with the auto block safety net, and if that happens, I will get completely nuked by the plasma detonation. So using the special 3, or even the special 2 for the plasmas, is a double-edged sword, and it can go wrong if you're not being careful. I did, however, manage to finish out the fight without needing to consume my armor ups, and it is a solo in a little under a minute and a half. Overall, the fight went pretty well, and no complaints there. Now, usually I'm not a fan of using specials against Havok, but due to the nature of this tactic, as well as the AI reliance of it, I didn't want to stick around in the fight any longer than I needed to, otherwise bad things could have happened, especially if the heal block fell off. And then we have a Kindred here on the Never Back Down node, and I am taking the fight with Luke Cage. Now, Kindred here is a Mystic Defender, so a single special 2 with enough exhaustions on the opponent will inflict 2 concussions with Luke Cage's special 2, which will then shut down all of the opponent's abilities that can be shut off anyways. And that means the root when he enters the 5% health range, the degenerations, and basically everything else. Now this special 2 would have finished off the fight, but Kindred Kindred's cheat death still kicked in even without the root. The root itself didn't trigger due to the concussions, but he still has the safety net where he doesn't die off immediately. You do need another hit to finish it off. So because of that I ended up, well, doing something stupid and dashing in and eating the special one, but overall most of the damage was prevented by the indestructible anyway, so the mistake wasn't as bad as it could have been. Then we have a Korg on the buffet over time node, and I will be taking the fight with Omega Sentinel. Her being immune to nullify means that the buffet node will never be a problem, and then I can shut down the arc overload region with heal block. And now, to start off this fight, I get hit with the realistic hitbox issue that has been a thing for a very long time and probably will always be a thing. It's just very unfortunate when it happens, but basically if you slow down the video a lot and pause it at the right moment, you see that my light attack is essentially, or rather, Omega Sentinel's punch is in Korg's face, but his own medium animation pulls his hitbox backwards enough to actually cause the hit to miss, and then I am fully open for the medium hit to land. So that's very fun. That's another potion I gotta use, but that is something that can be avoided by tweaking your own light intercept timing a tiny bit. So even though it looks like a game issue, it is still on the player himself or themselves to rectify it, and as unfortunate as it is, all you can do is just get better, and that's something I really gotta do myself. Been making way too many mistakes lately, and well, I'm probably just getting old or just rusty, but maybe I can sort that out soon enough. Anyways, I did still end up getting the solo there, of course. Korg isn't really too big of a deal these days. Everyone has had so much practice against him over the years that he's more just an annoyance than an actual defender, though it does depend a little bit on the nodes. Then we got a bishop on the power snack and 1 too many hits mini-boss node, and I will be taking the fight with Omega Sentinel. Now, I had a teammate place the Odin pre-fights here for me, but they are not really gonna be helpful for this specific fight, because power snack will for some reason just eat them off the start of the fight, even though Omega Sentinel is nullify immune, or so I thought, and that is how it has worked in the past, but as we can see here at the start of the fight, something weird happens, and Bishop only eats one of the buffs. Only the aptitude was eaten by the power snack node, but the protection and the shock resistance stayed. And I'm not exactly sure why that happens, but still, triggering the power snack there at all is an issue, and I really hate that it happens. But yeah, I don't know if something has changed there, but I don't remember that being the case before. Might be something worth reporting, and even at the time of taking the fight myself, I didn't really notice that only one of the buffs was eaten, so that is very interesting. Now, the game plan I had for this fight was to use an invulnerability boost and only push this guy to his special 3s, and then just eat them. If I let him use a special 1, it's gonna be unblockable due to the another node here that I'm forgetting the name of. Probably prowess build up unblockable, that sounds about right. And yeah, he ended up using the special 1 there regardless, and now I'm kinda screwed. It consumed the indestructible or the invulnerability boost, so now I no longer have a safety net. I need to land the special dexes properly. And of course, if you use another special 1, I can't exactly avoid the damage from that either. Now, one thing that I could have done here was actually use the special 3 of Omega Sentinel to inflict the plasma debuffs, because as I was corrected in the comments of one of the previous war videos, Bishop doesn't actually punish you with the overload against plasma debuffs, so you can use them safely without worrying about the damage back. They will still stack up Bishop's prowesses, I believe, but the resulting damage that you would get from incinerating or shocking him, for example, it doesn't happen for plasma. And that is something I really didn't know. I had always just assumed that since Plasma is the combination of both Incinerate and Shock, that it would work the same way for Bishop's abilities, but it doesn't, so next time I will keep that in mind and hopefully speed things up a bit before things get out of hand like they did there. And then we have an Enchantress on the Scared Stiff and Power Focus 2 miniboss node along with Bubble Shield, and I will be taking the fight with Luke Cage. I still have the Recall Masteries on, since I just wanna get in and get out as fast as possible, at least that was the plan. So all the damage I can get, I'm not complaining. Now to start off with, I try to do the light trick in the middle of her heavy animation here, but I'm not comfortable, or I'm not used to the spacing with the trick there, using Luke Cage specifically, so I ended up missing it and then trying to punish the special or the heavy attack normally. I ended up rolling the miss on it, which was unfortunate and cost me to eat up the indestructible. Now at this point the fight has gone horribly. I'm in my corner, Enchantress is spamming specials, I'm getting rooted left and right, and I'm still missing on my hits, so yeah, the fight has gone about as bad as it could have been, I would say. So there, I just punished the heavy attack with my Striker instead. Since the Striker cannot miss, he still works to remove the spell, and then I go for a knockdown and the special 3. Now the spells are off, so I gotta just nuke the fight the best I can before I eat that special 3, since I no longer have the indestructible to protect me. But I just fall short on the special 1, she's at 2%, and now I'm just scared I'm gonna die. However, the Inequity Mastery is a very useful thing, along with the special 3 protection boost, whatever it's actually called I don't know, and I ended up taking close to no damage from the special 3 at all. So definitely I was expecting to die there the moment she threw it, but I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't the case, and I go on living another day. Then, next up we have a Man-Thing on the usual Hazard Shock and Bleed node along with Conflictor, and I'm taking the fight with Omega Sentinel. The Odin pre-fights I had for the Bishop fight were meant for this one, but because the person placing them wasn't really around, or we couldn't fit him for this specific fight to put them on here, we had them placed on the Bishop earlier, which did make the fight harder, but still it's fine. I didn't die, so I can't complain. So, the fight here is the same as usual. Get the heal block up early by first triggering the Conflictor node with a double medium. Then after the heal block debuff itself is on, keep it paused by ending your combos with light attacks, and that way you shut down the tactic as well as the ability power rate of this Mystic Defender. The ability power rate does work on the Conflictor power gain, Mystic Dispersion, as well as the power gain passive from the defense tactic. Now after that, all I gotta do is just build up the special 3, then trigger Conflictor with another second medium, like I did there, throw the special 3 for the Incinerate debuffs, and now the fight is done. All that is left is to just keep the Incinerates as well as the heal block up by finishing combos with light attacks, and the Incinerates will deal with the rest of it. Man-Thing is a very tanky defender, but his biggest weakness is damage over time, and that is what Omega Sentinel does very well. And as you can see, the Incinerates are dealing some nice damage here. Recoil Masteries are definitely recommended here for the damage boost, but they are not necessary either. Now, as I have said before, the Odin Shock Resistance pre-fight here is essentially the only pre-fight you need. White Magneto not needed, as you can see here. The Aptitude and Protection are nice for some increased tankiness as well as a safety net on the protection, but none of that is needed. Then the next fight we have will be the usual Mangog, but before that I gotta correct myself on another mistake I have said in the past war videos. I am actually not deathless this season. I believe I died War 1 to that bugged Weapon X, and I completely forgot about it. So one of these earlier Season 52 videos I ended up saying that I was deathless at the time, but that's not the case. That ship sunk a long time ago. Unfortunate, but it is what it is, and that is the truth. Then, next up we have the usual Mangog on the Aspect of Evolution miniboss node, taking the fight with Luke Cage, and I do also have the Mr. Fantastic pre-fights for that massive damage increase. That was a 58,000 heavy attack crit right off the bat, and yeah, the pre-fights do make a big difference. They are not needed to be able to take the fight, but the faster you can do it, the less the Aspect of Evolution node will get out of hand. And, well, if Luke Cage is anything, it's fast, and this fight probably proves it. The fight didn't even last 30 seconds, or if it did, then just barely, and I gotta say, that was a big improvement from the first time I tried it. Now, then we have the Storm Pyramid X on the Conflictor miniboss node along with Combat Deja Vu Prowess, and I will be taking the fight with Omega Sentinel. I have a White McLeader pre-fight here to help me out, so that my parry stunts will not trigger Conflictor, and that was basically the biggest safety net I could have hoped for here. Essentially, game plan is to do the same strat as the man thing earlier. First start off with a double medium to trigger Conflictor, so that I can actually inflict a debuff, do another double medium to inflict a heal block, and then try to keep it up for the rest of the fight. And I say try because I immediately drop it before I can actually even try to pause it. On top of that, I ended up somehow eating the last hit of Storm Pyramid X's special 1, which can hurt quite a bit, but I did still have the vulnerability boost from that Mangog fight earlier, which was nice. Now at this point, the fight is more or less under control. I am getting closer to my special 3, I have the heal block up, and I haven't eaten another special 1 since, so all is looking good. Now the Conflictor node here is, as I've said previously, shut down for the most part by the heal block on the opponent, and that allows me to actually trigger the Conflictor here without worrying too much about the power gain. So I go immediately for a special 3 here, after a slight pause so I wouldn't use the Incinerates immediately on the Conflictor trigger, having them not trigger at all because of it. Not gonna make that mistake again. And now with the Incinerates on, or I guess Plasma on the opponent, all I gotta do is just watch them melt, pause the debuffs with heavy attacks here, since they give the opponent less power than for light attacks, I believe at least. I could be wrong on that, but at the very least I get the pause off faster. Fight goes down, it was a solo, though still not a clean fight since I did end up eating the hit of that special 1, but other than that, couldn't have gone all that much better, I guess. The start was shaky, but yeah. And then we have the final fight of the season, an Onslaught boss that I am taking with Werewolf by night. And by this point I am sure everyone still watching this knows exactly how this fight is done. Mainly just gonna be hitting Onslaught's block here, inflict those ruptures through the block, and let them deal with his health bar the best they can at least, then slowly building up to a special 2 as well as the curse by simply howling whenever it's available. Now since I started the fight with an advanced power boost, I didn't exactly get the proper rotation to get the curse active for my first special 2. I'm not exactly sure why I used the boost here, it didn't really do much for me. Probably would have been better if I didn't actually use it at all, to be fair. But now I have the curse up, the opponent here has enough buffs to actually pause the curse when I'm far away from them. So now, all I gotta do is just get those special 2s in, as well as the mediums, and watch the opponent's health bar melt. The reason why I'm mostly trying to hit into Onslaught's block is so that I would not get any of the neuroshocks on myself, since you actually have to land hits directly against Onslaught for them to happen. That makes Werewolf by night a very strong option for him on most nodes, and well, it's not like he needs a strong counter, you're just gonna need someone who can deal with the chip damage and take him down fast enough so that the resistance buffs there won't become too big of a problem. Now, the more physical resistance buffs the opponent here gets, the less damage I will be dealing with the ruptures and my special 2, since all the damage that Werewolf deals is physical based, So that's also another reason why you don't really want to hit him directly too much. You want to hit him enough for him to trigger at least 2 buffs, I believe, to be able to pause the curse, but more than that, it's just gonna hinder your damage output, and that's not ideal. But even then, the fight is doable within the 5-minute time frame. I get the solo here, and that will be it for season 52. As for the results, we actually did end up winning this war 7-2, so we locked in our place in top 10 of Masters. I believe we were 5th overall, which is pretty good, I gotta say. As for my own personal stats for the season, I finished at 91 attacker kills and 1 death due to that unfortunate bugged weapon X I had to deal with early on, but that's still alright. It's not a horrible season by any means. And as far as the season rewards go, the only thing I opened was a loyalty 7-star crystal, and it got me a 7-star void, which was very nice. New champions are always welcome.